A very good afternoon to all of you. This is the 8th edition of the webinar of our webinar series, Unlocking Value. And today we have a very interesting topic, Procurement Digitalization Trend 2021. Someone had said that if you have to see and win the future, you have to know the future, what's going to come. And today when supply chain professionals, procurement professionals, their efficiencies make or break an organization, it's important that we know what is that which is happening in the procurement world. And to speak about that, we have three very experienced, I should say, veteran speakers in our panel. By the way, I was talking about technology. Technology also gives sometimes goosebumps. So I was about to log in from my system. I was taken aback. The browser had locked. Luckily, I had Partho, my colleague, who was here. So we both are using the same laptop right now. This is an interesting part of the technology, which will also talk about the risks in technology in this webinar. So let me, without taking time, let me introduce the three speakers for today. We have a very experienced and a veteran speaker, Mr. Raj Singh. Mr. Raj Singh has more than 35 years of experience in procurement. He is currently leading the bulk procurement at Tata Steel as Chief of Bulk Procurement. And for me, it's a very nostalgic moment because I have personally learned procurement a lot from him. Mr. Singh is a BE and MTech. He's also a certified professional in procurement, CPM. And an interesting thing, or what talks about his procurement experience when Tata Steel acquired Ocean Steel, he led the procurement transformation and the amalgamation of the two teams. So welcome, Mr. Singh. We have our second speaker today, Mr. Ritesh Agrawal. He's another, I should say, a veteran representing the auto industry, where the pulse of the industry, economy, and also the procurement can be gauged into. Mr. Agrawal is Senior General Manager, Strategic Sourcing at Mahindra & Mahindra. He has 25 years of experience in procurement, and he has worked with some of the other behemoths like L&T, Maruti Suzuki, Renault, Nissan, and he has a very good knowledge of international best practices also. He has a keen interest in digitalization, transformation, change management, and a very interesting fact about him, he's also a marathon runner, and he has run several full and half marathons. The third speaker today is Chakravarti. He has 23 years of experience in procurement, digitalization, transformation. He has developed solutions not only for Indian companies in USA, UK, UAE, and Singapore. And currently, Partho is heading the e-procurement solution at M Junction. He has implemented more than 30 procurement instances. Some of the very critical procurement, including one for defense, power grid. These are the procurement systems which he had implemented and when it comes to private sector companies like Voltas, UAE, several power companies are using the procurement system at Partho and his team. I welcome all the three speakers, all the audience. We have 68 audience live, and we are expecting around, so normally the peak comes after 15 minutes. We are expecting the number would be touching about 100. And so let's start the today's agenda, which is procurement digitalization trend 2021. We will take about 40 minutes to discuss with the panelists, followed by we'll try to have some 10-minute question and answer session. That's what we will try to stick in, and we'll try to finish the webinar within the scheduled time of 1 hour. So let me start the panel discussion with the first question for Mr. Singh. So, sir, you have been in this procurement space for more than 3 decades. Last year was an unprecedented time. So, as a procurement leader, what is that you witnessed? What are the lessons learned? And going forward, how do you see the impact of these lessons which have been?
So thank you, Ashish. First to check, am I audible properly?
Yes, sir, you are very much audible.
So a very good afternoon to the panel members and all the attendees who have logged in and will be logging. It's my pleasure to be here on this online conclave. And you know, this is not a very formal kind of conclave, so we'll be sharing some very, you know, actual experiences. So, you know, before moving to digitization, the first question, which is a very interesting question, which Ashish has put on me, is on our journey during last 1 year and what we learned and how we cope with that. So to begin with, all of you have experienced, and you all must have you know, implemented some new thing or developed some new methodology. So as far as my personal role is concerned, you are aware that Tata Steel is a integrated steel plant, and we as a group in India is currently manufacturing close to 16 to 17 million ton of steel. And as a Tata Steel group, including Southeast Asia and Europe, it is almost 25 million ton. So my responsibility is to manage the bulk categories, which, you know, are the items. Right now I'm only buying the products. I'm not buying any service. Those which are responsible directly for steel manufacturing. So that means that we are the one who immediately got hit because of the COVID situation. So when it first happened, it happened in China, and we started working on the, you know, strategy how to expedite whatever can come from China, or how to go to countries other than China. So right now the dependency for any plant is very much in China, and suddenly overnight we cannot do away with them. Similarly, we have certain products which are only coming from China, and some of them no other country is actually manufacturing. So that is the kind of difficult situation we landed in. Well, by that time, pandemic spread to Europe and it started disrupting the supplies from Europe also. And in subsequent month, immediately it spread all over India also. So what happened? It first started hitting the transport sector, the drivers, the truckers, then started hitting the manufacturers, factories, suppliers, then ports, then railways, then shipment. Almost all the supply chain got disturbed. We are one of the fortunate that we could manage our production and continued on it. Of course, for first 2-3 months, the production was about 25% less. So what did we do differently? The first thing which happened is that a daily meeting was set up with all stakeholders who are part of the supply chain to identify the problem area and find out the solutions for the immediate one and for the long ones. And MIS on the all the important items and categories started being circulated. This MIS was going up to our CEO and MD, and he was also reviewing it every day. Then when we, from weekly MIS was circulating, so that gave us the, you know, attention on the immediate area where we needed to work. The next problem came that how to prevent infection which were coming from outside. So, and every day lot many trucks comes with so many items. So we immediately started working on paperless in incoming material system and developed it within 2-3 months, wherein all the suppliers started uploading the digital challan and invoices, and the drivers were also bringing at the gate. They were, we facilitated them to also those who are coming with hard copy paper to convert them digital, so that and the complete system of receiving the paper GRN and invoicing was 100% migrated to paperless with all COVID precautions. Then we started working on how to quickly do the VIVO, vehicle in, vehicle out, so that the number of hours where outside drivers are in, they can be, taken out of the factory as possible, as early as possible. Again, a lot of changes were done. The problem came on some of the very, very critical item. We were not getting the whereabouts of the truck on between. So then some idea came that can we track them on Google Map? So then we contacted our IT, and with this idea on Google has a different offering for the industry. On that platform, we built a software which is called Margdarshak. And once any truck is leaving the premises from the factory, we can suggest that which is the safe route and it is not in the red zone and can quickly come with the GPS fitted. We could track the truck from the origin to the destination. With now we have further improved that, and in case GPS is not there with driver's mobile, this can be tracked. Some of the other critical learnings during this time was inventory management and localization. We found that those which industries which were near and especially near to your factory were actually savior. And so it is time that we can look into the critical supplies on a VMI model or on developing supplier nearby. Then also this is the time when a product substitution, that product A is not available, how can we use the product B and proceed on that. So there is a very live example. I'll take 1 minute. And aluminum is a very, very important category for manufacturing steel. And almost we use a particular type of shape of tubes, and we left with a stock of 2 to 3 days. And the supplies were very, very choked, restricted. Then suddenly we started looking in and around Jamshedpur and found that some ingots are available with one of the window and door manufacturers of aluminum. We took that and immediately got it converted and brought it. Again, we started working on substitute B, C. There are several examples of coping. And one of the good example is that the working from home was, we were able to quickly meet all the locations every day, which were not used to be earlier. And so there are so many learnings. So as the webinar progresses, we can share further. Thank you.
So thank you so much, and a very interesting journey. A lot of innovations. Google tracking with Mark Darshan, and I'm sure a lot of out-of-box thinking must have happened, and these learnings would not only be for addressing the immediate challenge, but for a long time to go. My next question is for Mr. Ritesh Agrawal. Mr. Agrawal, you are in an industry which has seen the real impact of COVID, and then like a phoenix, it has emerged. The question which I have for you is, how deep was the impact, and more importantly, how is the auto recovery right now, both in terms of the procurement and otherwise in general?
Yeah, Ashish. So good afternoon, everybody who is there on the call, and my greetings to fellow panelists. Ashish, I'm thankful for giving me the opportunity to speak on this platform. Really grateful. So answering to your question, Ashish, what I can say is that the complete auto industry had come to a grinding halt during the COVID crisis. So from middle of March onwards, there was no production at all. And the first time we made any vehicles was in the last week of May. And I still remember when we started to talk about producing the vehicles, the first thing was, how would we just clear out the inventories which are there in our plant rather than producing any vehicles. Slowly, we got into the space of understanding as to what all has come to a halt. How do we start the process? Because it is not just the Mahindra plant which was stopped. The entire supplier fraternity had stopped during the COVID crisis. And this was across all the OEs and the entire auto industry. So restart was a real nightmare for us, right from arranging steel and other raw materials, getting the suppliers to get the workforce, because there was a huge restriction in getting the workers from across states. And if you know that if you are in Maharashtra, or let's say in Chennai or elsewhere, there is a huge paucity of skilled labor. And not just skilled labor, it is all other workforce also which is required in an automotive space, and not enough labor was available, not enough raw material was available. The suppliers were in a deep financial crisis also, because of which, because their working capital was totally locked in all the finished goods that they had already prepared, and it was not getting sold to Mahindra. So with these three crises in place, we had a tough time, but we did coordinate well on the virtual platform internally within Mahindra with the suppliers, and we organized all the things one after the another, starting from raw materials and then arranging the workforce, getting the supplier financials on place. For doing that, we engaged with a lot of financial institutions to see how we could help them out in doling them some capital requirement, or in terms of arranging working capital for them, so that they could work out over the crisis, arrange raw material for themselves. So with these baby steps, we started the manufacturing process and gradually ramped up our production from May till July. And from August onwards, we were almost working on a full production capacity, with all the problems that we were having in terms of workforce unavailability and intermittent raw material unavailability. So with that, the demand was fully there if you look at it. So from September onwards, there was a huge requirement of vehicles, and we were not able to produce the vehicles to the extent that we wanted. Even now, the situation is the same. What we've seen post-pandemic is a huge V-shaped recovery in demand. But there are still supply chain issues that we are tackling today. And but the entire workforce is today committed and working very hard to ensure that we get the material on time and to fulfill the demand. COVID has actually taught us so many different things during the period. An electronics shortage was something which we had never anticipated before. The chip shortage is something very, very unique. We were never aware that it is a 6-month lead time for the preparation of the integrated circuit chips. And these chips, if I can just give you some examples, the auto industry contributes to only 10% of the requirement of the chips which are there in the electronics space within the vehicle. So, and during the pandemic, what happened was the amount of capacity which was used up in the consumer electronics space was huge. And there was limited availability of capacity for the automotive usage. With that, and certain outages which happened in the electronic space, the availability of chips is a challenge. And that is why we are still facing the problems of not having enough electronic parts to suffice the demand which is there in the industry today. So given that, we are still working out how to solve the problem. The entire purchasing fraternity is probably working 24 hours a day now to ensure that we have the raw material and the required inputs to scale up the production to meet the demand requirements in the market. Yeah, Ashish, what are you?
Yeah. So thank you, Mr. Agrawal. Very interesting, and these are the real experiences. Shortage of workers, shortage of raw material, items with 6 months lead time. I think you have handled all of these things, and I'm sure the supply chain will emerge much more stronger. Thank you. This really gives a peek into how the economy is right now and what are the things happening, how the transformation is happening. So I have the next question for my colleague Partho. Partho, while a lot of disruption has happened, today digitalization, IT, this is something which is answering to many challenges and questions in a big way. My question to you, what are the trends you are witnessing in procurement digitalization? I'm sure there are things were happening even before the crisis, COVID, and COVID has accelerated many of these trends. If you can share your experience, because you are dealing in multiple companies and you know that you can give a much better view in what's the trend which is right now happening. So over to you, Partho.
Okay, good afternoon all. Am I audible? Okay. So,
Yes.
yeah, to give you the perspective, yes, we made multiple clients, different organizations to understand the procurement need, and we try to digitize them. But if you look at the entire process of the procurement, if you divide it into multiple segments, it is the PR to PO. It's a one segment. Post PO process is another segment. So these are the two areas where every organization wants to digitize. And once this is over, then the next step is to how to utilize that information on data and how to reduce the turnaround time, and those are the advanced activities comes into picture. But this is the wish list. But what is the problem? I mean, every organization has a different need. Now, to support that need, every organization wants to digitize the process slightly differently. This one solution doesn't support all of them. But what is important we have seen is the primary need of all the organization is they want a visibility. Visibility means this word has a different meaning for different stakeholders. For example, if it is the end user who has created the purchase or who has raised the PR, then they want the visibility of the PR when the material is going to be received. This is one need. Now, one visibility they want. The procurement department has a different visibility. Who would be my right supplier? What would be the price? Whether we have negotiated, how fast I am issuing my purchase order. This is one area. For the CPOs, yes, the process is transparent, faster. Those are the visibilities the CPO need. The spend analysis, how much I am spending, how much money I am saving, and whether my procurement function is a strategic function or not. These are the visibility every senior management wants. So visibility is a common need because of which the digitization activity takes place. Now, the problem statement, what we have seen is that we don't get the visibility. Why? Because we've seen the first problem is that the adoption of the platform. The adoption is not happening. If the people are not using the platform or any procurement system, no matter how good, bad it is, but it has to be used by the people, starting from the PR till payment. Now, if it is not utilized by the people, the system will not capture any information, any data, which cannot be utilized for the visibility. And visibility is a very important aspect which every organization wants for informed decision. Now, why the users are not using the platform or system completely? This is because there are multiple reasons, but the primary reason is they feel comfortable in using Excel file or email. So apparently it saves time, but this is what people is comfortable with. So they do not use any platform because it is more time consuming for them. This is one problem statement. I'm telling this because every digitization trend has a direct link to these aspects. And this is where every organization is, I mean, I would not say every, but most of the organization are struggling. So if the user doesn't use this platform, then what happens is we do not capture the data. This is the first problem. But why they are not using? Because they feel it takes more time. But why they feel more time? Because when you use a platform, use a system, this is not user friendly. It is not saving their time. You need to type in probably so many things. But if you do not use this platform, any platform, then what happens is you are not capturing the information and the data, relevant data. Second is, if you are still on the Excel file or email, then the purity of data is in question. That is one aspect, because until and unless there are two aspects. One is the usage, adoption, and second is the purity of data. Once this is perfect, then all the advanced analytics, all informed decision making can happen. So what I have seen is that this is where people are struggling. This is one area. Next is the trend is we always try to choose a tool, try to identify a procurement system. So identify a procurement system first and try to implement that. This is normally the trend is, but it should not be. What is that? The business should come first. It is the business user who has to drive the implementation and digitization part. Now, all the organization who has implemented the process, I have spoken to a few organizations who are now stepped into the advanced analytics uh, and machine learning area. Where it can help in the procurement is number one. So in the procurement process, every procurement officer uh, does some negotiation, correct? Now, this for the negotiation, they need information. They need information from the various points. Now, what happens in that case is that they always struggle to find those information if it is scattered in nature. Now, if all the informations are within the same within their reach, then and the system, the strategic decision which the people takes, if the machine learns from the behavior and keeps on suggesting the users that this is the price trend, you should for this purchase you should talk to this supplier. The expected negotiation price should be say 100 rupees. So it can machine suggest, and this is few organizations are already working on that. If the machine suggests that go to this supplier, identify there should be a target price that is 100 rupees, and if you increase the quantity, that you have a chance of getting say 10% discount. If machine can identify and suggest that, it saves time. It's a number one trend. Number two is I have seen that the automation is being implemented each and every places. So machine is taking over all the possible transactional jobs, which actually helps to reduce or free the bandwidth of the procurement managers. So in that case, what is happening is you can spend more time on your strategic decisions, or you can analyze the information for your further for better procurement process. So I would say, Ashish, the two things is happening. Whether other than the basic digitization process, it's use of the machine learning where system suggest, and second is the complete automation of the process. Over to you, Ashish.
Thank you, Partho. And very interesting things. You spoke about visibility. You spoke about machine learning and how machine learning is making procurement professionals smarter, as well as saving their bandwidth, the potential. And interestingly, you also talked about some do's and don'ts. You champion that people should move from Excel and email-based systems to a proper digital system which can support and which have these features. Wonderful. We'll come back to you, but let me go back to Mr. Agrawal, because these are the while these some of the emerging needs which you mentioned are coming to you. I'm sure as a user and handling the strategic procurement, he will have a view into what are the real emerging needs of a supply chain function, especially from expectation from digitalization. What is actually driving digitalization? And Mr. Agrawal, I will also request if there's any area where you would like to talk in detail, which you are doing or you think should be done. So if you want to pick up any area in detailing, you can also pick that up. So we look for your response on what are the emerging needs which are driving digitalization, and any area if you want to take in detail.
Yeah. See, first I will start from what has happened.
Your mic seems to be on mute.
Is it so? You're not able to hear
no,
me?
We are not able to hear
Audible.
you.
Audible.
I'm audible.
Yeah,
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. So let me start with what is the changing landscape that we see in our outside world. So what has happened is the internet connectivity itself. Internet connectivity has gone up several notches up with 4G coming in, and we are talking about 5G in the next year, right? There's a huge availability of smartphones and smart devices around us. And we are also seeing a rapid increase of online activities in banking space and the e-commerce space. we're also seeing that people are working from anywhere, right? Now, what new trends are happening at the hands of the consumer is that product information is available with them at the click of the button, which demands full, and the customer demands full visibility and assurance of product delivery. Also, what we are seeing as a new trend is consumers are changing their mind till the last minute. Now, how it is changing the supply chain is that we're moving from a node to a network mindset. For risk mitigation, we've seen how much of a risk we faced at the time of the pandemic. We were faced with huge problems in parts coming from China, from Europe, from several places. We talked about electronics industry. We were plagued with a huge lot of problems. So now the automotive industry is in an accelerated space to mitigate all kinds of risk in the supply chain. What's also happening is there is a transformation happening from planning horizons being periodic to real time. We also need a real time product visibility. And on top of it all, we need greater speed and agility. There's a huge load of automation which is happening at the supplier end also to lower the total cost of ownership. So all this is increasingly accelerating the need for digitization. I'll also now touch upon what is happening in the supply chain philosophy. See, supply chain earlier used to be supply-led in a traditional manner. Now it is more demand-led. Now, when it is demand-led, then I need to have an increased focus on having a fineness in our demand, a kind of an accuracy in my demand which I'm communicating to supply chain. If that accuracy is not there, then everything will go wrong in the entire value chain of the whole aspect of things. The expectations from the supplier now, which I said, is speed, agility, transparency, and reduced cost. When I mean about speed, I'm talking about velocity from supplier to OEM, which means short planning cycles, reduced supplier lead times, direct online. When I'm talking about agility, I'm talking about lower lead time requirement for development of parts, for supply of parts. I'm talking about intra-planning cycle changes which are done very fast, low changeover times. If I'm looking at dies, I need to switch over the dies very fast. I need to have a greater transparency in place, which means what? I need to have a full visibility of goods at the warehouse space or in transit. There should be a seamless connect from end to end, right? These are the requirements from the suppliers. On the cost side, traditionally, the suppliers would cost things like cost plus margin equal to price. Now it's the other way around. There is an affordability with the customer. With that affordability, minus the margin, that should be the supplier cost. So the suppliers have to focus on removing all the unwanted cost from their working so that they can deliver to the requirement of the customer. They have to focus on increased efficiencies. So if you overall look at it, planning has moved from supply to demand predictive. Sourcing has moved from local fragmented to connected and transparent partnerships. What was volume driven to achieve lowest cost is now like agility, lean, and automated. Earlier, it used to be like just get it there from a delivery point in time. Now it is like on time in full. This is how the supply chain is transforming, and that is what is, driving the digitization. So the digitization is in terms of demand management, where it is the focus is on demand forecasting, e-scheduling, procure to pay process, wherein we are talking about e-invoicing and digital invoicing, so that there is a real-time visibility of the suppliers who are billing to OEs from the billing stage to the payment stage. We are talking about blockchain. Blockchain will help in keeping everything in a very secure manner so that there is no mismanagement of any of the transactions. We are looking at automated supplier risk management so that we mitigate the risk to a big extent by real-time risk monitoring, supplier visits through augmented reality, and sustainability reporting. And last of all, smart supply chain tracking so that the supplier is aware or the customer is also aware that the delivered goods are where at any point in time. One can easily track the inventory so that the inventory is also kept at the optimum level. So this is how the whole digitization space is moving in the automotive industry, driven by a supply chain transformation. Over to you, Ashish.
So, Roal, very interesting and I should say some excellent perspectives you have given. In fact, I'm sure you have made the any procurement professional's dream you have described, which is a planning horizon which is periodic to real time, shorter lead times, more visibility, local fragmented purchases to partnerships. I think these are excellent inputs, and these would definitely drive the digitalization more and more. In fact, this will transform digitalization is one aspect. This will transform the entire procurement process in the supply chains in days to come. Uh, Let me ask next question to Mr. Raj Singh. Sir, when such huge amount of change are occurring, while digitalization or implementing a system is relatively easy, the change management is a very difficult task. As a procurement leader, how are if you with your own experience and talking about the fraternity, how the procurement leaders are managing this change management aspect, and do you have any specific message for all the procurement professionals and the consultants and the IT professionals who have logged in today as our audience? So the change management, how the procurement professionals are handling the change management, the leaders are handling the change management. Here we would love to hear your views.
Yeah, I think what you said and Ritesh has, well articulated the current challenges, and Partho has touched on the, digital need. So change management is a subject which is currently right now it is here, and it always used to be there. Okay, and we cannot say that the improvements are taking place right now and improvements were not taking place earlier. So in my personal career, I have seen we have implemented SAP in the year 2000, 1999. So almost 22 years back. So, and then the first e-procurement platform was developed during that time. Okay, and from there, so many changes are taking place continuously and will take place. And change management, why it is the need for the supply chain professional and for procurement professional. First of all, procurement is no more a so-called traditional way of purchasing department. Procurement is one of the very, very key functions of any modern organization, and they want to see the procurement division department and their professional as one of the world class, you know. So there is much more need to hire the proper professionals in procurement. There is much more need to digitalize the process. There is much more need to bring agility in the process. There is much more need to, make the decision making more transparent. Supplier trust on your methods and process, and the many other things which are important for a good vibrant organization. What so change management is slowly goes into the whole ecosystem of the organization, into the blood of the organization, and sometimes you feel some inertia in change management, but slowly you can come over. So we have seen big change management what we have implemented. Now from the basic, it is the time to go for the next level digitalization. I will just try and share you some of the area where in the supply chain, all the area which you touch, are required to be, digitalized. So right from vendor, so vendor selection, vendor onboarding. So today we have online vendor registration. A vendor can, log on the portal and submit their details, and you can verify and take them into the system. We have latest tool on vendor performance improvement, and you can real time data you can see, you can work upon that. We in Tata Steel, in all the sites, hire about 60,000 contract manpower. Managing those, we are also part of this system. So a very good contract labor management system is there for tracking their all the statutory requirement, other requirement, health requirement, and then there is a new intelligence coming on how to improve the productivity of these 60,000 manpower. And we are running a program, connected workforce management, by which we aim to not only reduce the total number, but also improve the productivity. We have the entire safety management system on the digital mode. We already have e-procurement portal, digital VMI. We have ProCare, means it is for helping out any supplier related problem or internal customer related problem. Now we have deployed a bot, and some of the question can be automatically answered from the system on some basic questions, but these bots can be further improved. On the vendor payments side, there is e-billing process, then digital invoices. So like that, you name. Okay. The latest is, demand on the procurement side. The demand aggregation tool is in place, wherein you can pull in the demand, and based on that, you can do a better sourcing. What Partho was discussing, we have tried and implementing. Reverse auction was always there as a means to identify the correct prices, but price product prediction model is a next generation digital implementation, and we are done into coal is a very very big category for us, and we buy, to you will surprise that we buy almost 10,000 crores rupees worth coal. So a very very elaborate kind of price prediction model has been developed, which tells us that which is the right time to buy which product, how, spot versus long term, like that. The second, we are developed for zinc, and we are developing for some more things. There are other digital negotiation factory is a word which Partho was referring, that how to negotiate intelligently, phasing out data from the system which is staggered and which is lying uh, for so many years, and better use that. Okay. So the big thing has come on the SAP Fiori application, where you can create a very wonderful good dashboards and monitor that. Fortunately, we already implemented a solution called Enterprise Content Management, which frees you from any kind of physical folder. And we implemented this in year 2019, and already, stabilized that. When the pandemic hit us, from the day one, we could work from home without any problem, because otherwise, in a traditional procurement, you will find that so many folders, and this document, that document, and enterprise content management gives you solution for digitizing your email, your negotiation, your offer, your everything. You can almost keep like ready and can refer. We have now coming to solutions like catalog management system. So change management is always there and will always be there. We have made so many changes in our receipt process, our inbound material. We have totally digitized the warehouse, and SAP EWM is Enterprise Warehouse Management is a system which holistically converts the warehouse management, and without paperless working you can do. So these are some of the live examples which we have implemented. I want to share with you. Over to you, Ashish.
So thank you so much. And you spoke about some very interesting changes which have been brought in, um, ranging from enhancing productivity to price prediction model for coal, warehouse management system, enterprise content management, and you talked about your experience when ERP was implemented and the change management. I think this gives a lot of food for thought for companies who have not implemented them and are thinking to implement. I'm sure they would see this experience and learnings as a positive indicator to implement these. I have last question for Partho. Partho, if you can quickly um, share about what you feel is going to be the future. So, Mr. Agrawal spoke a lot about what are the emerging needs about supply chain function. You spoke about that. Since you speak with many companies when they put up their needs, I'm sure you will have a better view that what's there in the future beyond 2021. So if you can share in few minutes about that, and then we'll try to take one question from the speakers.
Yes, okay, Ashish. So just Ashish. Yeah. So the changes, what I can see it's happening, and it's already started happening. First is the automation. Each and every step there will be an automation. As I also said earlier, the bandwidth of the procurement people has to be reduced. So why not? When you receive a PR, why the PR cannot be translated to a PO automatically? A system releases the PO. You do not need to touch. There has to be rule driven. What are the POs should be translated to a PR? Yes, Mr. Singh has already mentioned the catalog. Yes, why the end user need to raise a PR if it is already part of the catalog where the rate contract is already done? Let the end user place the order. It should go to the supplier directly. If a PR cannot be translated to PO, why a system can't identify the prospective suppliers of the PR and create an RFP and publish that RFP to the suppliers automatically? I mean, there are various aspects where the automation will come into picture. It's already started happening, and the transactional job will vanish. This is one area is coming up. Second, as I've already mentioned earlier, also system will help us in making decisions. Now, it's not that so far the system was providing the data, and we are the people who are interpreting the data and taking the call. But what is coming up is the system on behalf of us will be taking the decision and suggest the decision. Yes, there will be a reason for taking that decision which will validate, but system will proactively suggest that at different stages, not necessarily at the PR level. It can be at the purchase order level, it can be a delivery level, any level in the negotiation level. Another problem statement is the classification of the item, because if you want to go beyond that, that means implement AI, ML, which is the buzzword, but underlying is that the machine is learning from your data and providing the suggestion. Now, there has to be a discipline which is needed to implement it. That is codification of the materials. That is an important aspect which has to be done. Machine is going to learn from your item and classify the data. This is, I can see in next 2 to 3 years it's going to happen. Last but not the least, how we interact with the platform, any system. Right now we fill up the forms, type in everything. But what is coming up is that the voice-based interaction. So you ask the system through your voice command, and system gives you the result. Also, the bot-based chat, which is also coming up, where you for any queries you do not need to ask question. If you type in, also system identifies the question, identifies the relevant answer, and respond back. This is what coming up in next 2 to 3 years. I'm pretty sure. Over to you, Ashish.
Thanks, Partho. So machine learning is one aspect which you mentioned, and it's interesting that a repetitive, mundane work machine will be able to do. So definitely we'll look forward. You also had spoken about previously about analytics and what's happening in the visibility space. So while we will, there's a lot of good trends which have been spoken by all the three speakers. We will summarize in the end. But before closing, we'd like to take one question. Mr. Agrawal, there is a question for you, which Prashant Jha has posted, that currently, do the supply chain partners have a better visibility of inventory? And if it is not there, then is Mahindra and Mahindra trying to do something to enhance the visibility at the vendor's end?
No, frankly speaking, if inventory visibility is there, I don't see any issues in suppliers not knowing the inventory of their area. What is not available is, let's say I am the customer, what is not known to me is the complete supply chain inventory visibility, which means if I'm ordering a BIW item, I will know what is the inventory at my tier 1, but I will not know what is the inventory situation of the raw material which is required for stamping those parts. So that is the visibility which we are looking for going ahead, which means end-to-end visibility of the supply chain inventory, starting from the finished goods to the WIP to the raw material which is required to stamp out those parts. And that's the visibility that we are looking at, but we do not have an IT solution for it, which can tell me at the click of a button whether the raw material is available to cater to my requirements today or not. That is still not available. And we'll be happy to find a solution to that. But a very interesting point, I mean, you're triggering a thought in my mind. We should be working towards that end, and that's all ERP is about. And I think Partha can probably talk on this better, but Partha, definitely, this is a need of the industry that from a supply chain perspective, they should be able to know the visibility of the inventory availability right till the tier 2, tier 3 stage to plan it out, plan out the vehicles at their end.
Thank you, Mr. Agrawal. And we are nearing the end of our scheduled time. So let me quickly take the opportunity to summarize what our the three eminent speakers spoke about. Firstly, let me apologize. There are few questions which are there in the window, but we are not able to take them up. Let me assure to the audience that we will reach out personally and will try to answer the queries which you have posted. But in paucity of time and respecting time, we will not be able to take more questions. It was a very interesting session and a lot of good insights which have came. Mr. Agrawal spoke about the emerging needs, which is in terms of a real-time planning horizon, shorter lead times, better partnerships rather than fragmented vendor base, e-invoicing. Mr. Singh talked about many things which have been implemented and how COVID actually gave an opportunity to innovate in many areas. So he spoke about the productivity softwares, content management system, a warehouse management system, the price prediction models, the Google Map tracking systems which have been implemented for knowing actually what's happening. And Partha spoke about visibility, machine learning, analytics as something which is going to come in the procurement space. I think the panel has actually voiced what's going to be the trend for the year 2021, or I should rightly say financial year 22. And let me thank all the audience for the patience, the speakers, the three eminent speakers for giving time. And I wish everyone a wonderful, a very prosperous financial year 22. And I'm sure you will use these trends to make the procurement function even better at your respective organizations. Thank you so much. So the webinar comes to an end. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, and thanks, Ashish.
Thank you, everyone, for joining, and thank you, Ashish and co-panelists. It was a good moment.
Thank you.